Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. How everybody doing today? Me? Tired as hell. So, I'm not gonna really stay on here too long. I know I always say that, but for real, I am tired. And I typed up half of my presentation, so I gotta do the rest today. It's probably gonna take me another 5 to 6 hours. It's going to be about 15 pages. I'm going to see if I could download my PowerPoint presentation to my channel so y'all could see what type of work I have to do for school, and then y'all could see like my presentation is about the city streets of Chicago, but in the form of the show called The Shy. So I have to give a psychological perspective on that show. I don't know why out of all shows I picked that show, because it's so many characters. So I had to try to figure out a way to condense all the material without overwhelming myself, but it's already overwhelming. So I already looked at my other classmates, their work. A lot of them kind of simplified theirs, but there was this one guy, I could tell he really is at the master's level in his writing. So he did a audio presentation, but he was really breaking down the psychological terms. So I could really get deep into it like that, but the problem with these online schools is that you get such a limited time, so it's hard to get as creative as you want to. You just got to make sure that you don't really lose a lot of points for not being on time. So that's my issue. So when I first got to New York, I was already a week behind from all the traveling and then being sick. Remember I had the bladder infection. I'm all good now. My bladder infection is cleared. There's no what they call that, urine inconsistency, where you gotta feel like you gotta use the restroom. I don't have that now. So I feel good, like, as far as that. But getting my health back on track kind of really just threw me off with this whole situation. But anyways, enough for me. I told y'all my granddaughter, her situation with the bully. So when she was talking to me the day before yesterday, she asked me, she was like, can I just stay home? I just really need to clear my mind and deal with this when I get back to school. So I said, you know what, that's a good idea. So I let her stay home yesterday. I spoke to the dean over the phone. Come to find out, that dean is actually her science teacher. So the dean actually does so I thought that was good, because when the dean called me, she was like, is she coming into school today? And I was like, actually, no, she just doesn't feel, she feels like if she tells on the boy, they're gonna call her a snitch and then they're gonna target her. And she was like, oh no, we don't play that. We have zero tolerance for retaliation and zero tolerance for bullying. So I was like, okay, she sounds kind of like she know what she's doing. So then when I asked my granddaughter, I was like, how you feel about your science teacher? Because that's actually the dean. She was like, oh, it is? That's the teacher I was telling you that was kind of rude and mean. I was like, oh. Well, maybe it's a good thing now that she's mean, because now that she knows you're the student, she's going to look out for you in her class. So they said when my granddaughter gets to school today, they're gonna pull her out of class and they're gonna have her point out the boy, and then they're gonna have her point out the girl that was delivering the messages, kind of like instigating. I don't think they're gonna like put the girl in trouble, but they're probably just gonna have like a actual talk with the whole class about like diversity. And then I said I understand that my granddaughter started 4 days later than the class. So their class opened up, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday, and my granddaughter started that Monday. Damn, I just pulled up, and then this guy, he needs to get into his driveway. Nobody be here at this time of the morning, but all of a sudden when I pull up, he needs me to move. Hopefully I can squeeze into this little spot. This is what I hate about New York. There's not enough space. You can't even park or double park. Somebody gonna beep you. I don't know what is up with these New Yorkers with this beeping, beeping, beeping. Shut the fuck up. So this guy this morning, he want me to rush, and there's so many lights where I live at. So if I drive too fast and I run the red light, that's another problem. Or I could run over a pedestrian, because there's a lot of people that walk out here. And in the morning time, it's school kids. So I cannot be driving past like 35 miles, because them cops will pull you over. And then they act like they just, so I just gave them the bird. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but it's a New York thing. Just gave them the bird, like, y'all not finna keep beeping your goddamn horn every fucking 5 seconds. Especially them taxi drivers. They'll run your ass over in a second. I remember in my early 20s, I got ran over by a taxi driver. Dude knocked me off my feet onto his hood. I fell on the ground, and the mother effer drove off. I had got a little money for that, but not much, because they couldn't find the guy. Anyways, so what I didn't understand is, even though my granddaughter was late, she was a late register by a few days. When she got to the class is probably like 20 kids, 25 kids, or whatever. The teacher never introduced her as the new student so that everybody can get to know each other, because now she feels uncomfortable because she don't know none of the kids' names in her class. So sometimes I feel like these teachers, they don't make it easy for the student to acclimate themselves. You know what I mean? They just expect that the student gonna know how to not make friends, but like at least get along with the kids. So now if all the kids in the class don't know each other, there's not gonna be no level of compassion and stuff like that. That's why they start to tend to pick on each other. And sometimes the kids, they might already know each other from the prior grade. So coming into the grade, meaning like if that was a 6th grade and then now they're going to 7th grade and some of them are in the same class, those kids are going to click up. But then the kids that don't know them, it forms like this barrier of, they call it the in group and the out group. You know what I mean? So teachers are supposed to be aware of that. That's one of the things they teach you when you are going to college to become an educator, is making it where the kids know and how to get along. So I'm like, this is not what they did when I first, when my daughter first went to that charter school. When she went to that charter school, they did a lot of inclusive activities where everybody had to, what side is the cleaning? I forgot about the cleaning. They doing street cleaning today. So I think it's for the left side. I'm on the right side. There's always some shit when I'm trying to do something, yo. You're just in a bad mood today. The way that tire of my tire is looking, it's looking kind of like it needs some love and TLC. This car needs some TLC. I think I need an oil change. When was the last time I had that? Yeah, it looks like it's about time to get an oil change. But just got so much on my mind. Anyways, y'all, so Monday would be my last day of class. I gotta get all my work in before then. So I'm so glad that my granddaughter doesn't have school on Monday. She got I don't know if y'all know what a Labor Day parade is. So some people that's not from up north, they do a parade every year for September 1st, to celebrate the independence of some of the Caribbean countries. I don't know, because they were saying it was something dealing with with is it 9/11? But look, it's supposed to be for the independence of, well, Trinidad. Not all countries got their independence as far as when the British took over, but Trinidad got their independence sometime in the 1800s, I think. I don't know. I got to do my own history check. It's been so long. But Trinidad was under the colonization of the British and the Spaniards and the I believe the East Indians. So back then they were only using, I think, that currency, the British currency. But then Trinidad fought for their independence. And that's kind of why you don't hear a lot about Trinidad on the map as far as like United States trying to, I guess, merge with them. Trinidad be doing their own thing, like with the education system and stuff. Whereas countries like Guyana and Haiti, they still under a lot of, I don't know how to explain it, but they have a Caribbean festival every year. They have a Caribbean festival every year in Brooklyn. It'd be massive, but I heard it's supposed to rain. So I got some weed killer yesterday. I mean, like a couple days ago. I sprayed that damn bush and all that stuff that was on the ground that grow in the weeds, and it rained the same night, but it killed a lot of it withered out the leaves. And then I had to tackle these spotted lanternflies. They're trying to nest up in that tree. Child, they were flying out. I was like, ah! I'm screaming while I'm spraying. But I think I killed a lot of them in their nest. And there's a little shrub near the window of the neighbor downstairs. This girl is so lazy. It's just so annoying how, I know you renting the place, but damn, can you do a little bit of upkeep, lady? So since I've been on the truck and I come back, I don't really, okay, so my brother, he's a slightly, he has a schizoid personality, and he's, he's slightly autistic, so he has Asperger's. So sometimes, I don't expect too much from him, but he's functional. So he, he goes to work and stuff like that. He pays bills or whatever. So when I was on the truck over the road, I told him to keep the yard clean, but I didn't trust him like cutting the grass, cutting the stuff, because now that requires you dealing with sharp equipment and stuff. He already lost a finger messing with the lawnmower at my mom's crib a couple years ago. He turned the lawnmower on, and I don't know what part he was talking about, because I don't do lawn. So he said he had put his finger in something in the front of the thing. He said he thought something fell down there, so he went down there in the hole or whatever to see if he could retrieve it while the lawnmower was still on, and it took half of his finger off. Child, he took half his finger to the hospital, and they was like, we can't repair that. You're just gonna have to, deal with a missing piece of finger. Child, we heard that story. We was like, oh, that is so typical of him. So I don't really expect him to do too much, lawn maintenance. And my landlord, she's old, and I don't know why she hasn't come out here. The last time she came was like, I think April, and did some yard work. So anyways, when I got off the truck, I had a lot of work on my hands. So I'm still trying to get the yard together. So I asked the girl downstairs, I was like, are you able to do the backyard? I can get the equipment for you and the spray. And she talk about, oh, my allergies. And I don't think it's to myself, I don't want to get like pushy, but you got two sons. I know one of them is autistic, but he's like I want to say 6 foot tall, and he got to be like 17. And then you got another son who's in his 20s. The dude has a car and a job, so he clearly can physically do some work. Like, why are you not letting your sons do the work? Why they not taking out the trash and doing what they're supposed to do? It don't make sense. So then I was texting her. I was like, well, can you let your son come out there and do it? And she never responded. So then I was like, well, if you want, when I have some time off, I can just come in the backyard myself and I'll spray. Because my fear is the bugs are festering back there. If you see her backyard, she's the only one that has access to the backyard. It's really supposed to be for the whole unit, but the way her door is set up, there's only one entrance and one exit to that backyard, which is her. So I can't go through her apartment to get to the backyard. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, well, if you want, if I have some time off, I can go back there and do some upkeep for you, right? She got that thing like a forest. And all the other neighbors, they got like gazebos back there. They got like, everything is hooked up. It looked nice, like the neighbors, the backyards. Ours looked like a homeless shelter. And I'm like, why you, like, you don't have no shame? Like, come on. So she was like, well, sure, yeah, you can come back. You could do it, like, just letting me do it. So I got to figure out, I got to get with that landlord and figure out if she's going to send somebody to come do it. Because if those bugs and mosquitoes, and then sometimes she'll have, like, in the summertime, I remember when I was here in the summer, I don't know if it was this summer, I think it was the summer before, she would buy those little kiddie pools for her. I guess her family members would come over, and she would leave the water with the pool uncovered. New York has a high rate of mosquito infestation, right? And some of these mosquitoes carry viruses. Remember the West Nile's virus? Yeah, I think that started in Jersey or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, or New York City. So, like, aren't you cognizant of the shit that's going on, little girl lady? You're acting like a little girl. And I'm not trying to talk bad about her, but I am trying to talk bad about her, right? It's just like, I don't like lazy people. It's one thing where you say, okay, I'm not really a person that deals with greenery. It's not my thing. But it's just like, she doesn't even like pick up the trash in the yard, because sometimes the wind will blow debris. And this neighborhood has gotten a lot better with the gentrification. So with all the other races moving in on the block, we weren't only the only black people on the block, but majority of the neighborhood used to be black. And it was like 1 or 2 white people sprinkled here and there, and they were kind of old. Because back in the day, Brooklyn used to be a high mob activity, right? So it used to be a lot of Italians that was mostly in East New York, Brooklyn. And then once the drug lords came in, the black people took over. The projects got infested with blacks. So it got predominantly black, and then Latin people came and took over. The Dominicans started coming from Dominican Republic and moving in. So it was a high influx of Dominicans at one point. So it was like East New York started to be known as like little mini Spanish Harlem. But there's 2 parts to East New York. There's the Spanish side, and then there's the black side. So I'm mostly on the Spanish side of East New York. But now it's becoming Indian. Like mostly predominantly Indian people from East India, from like Bangladesh and all those different parts. So this girl, you see that the neighborhood is getting more prestigious. Why aren't you cleaning up? The garbage be like, you know, when the garbage people come, they take out they pick up the garbage can. Sometimes they'll leave little trash that falls out from the truck. So they don't have time to be picking up that. They'll just drive off. When she comes in from work, or if she leaves in the morning, her or her 2 sons, they'll walk right by. The can will be rolling down the front of the house, and nobody will pick it up until I get home. or until my brother get home. They got so lazy that my brother used to do it. He used to do it all the time. So now it's just me and my daughter doing it. But I had told her the other night, I said I fell asleep and I forgot that it was trash day. And when I woke up, I noticed nobody took out the trash. And she's going to say, oh, I fell asleep too. But she took it out the next, because, you know, the trash alternates on days. But it's just that I shouldn't have to tell you to maintain the yard. I shouldn't have to tell you to maintain the front of the curb. You should know this by now. You've been here long enough. It's just I don't like when people are lazy, ghetto, and it's just like, oh. But that's what I've been dealing with her. And she doesn't sweep. So this weekend, I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna do it on the weekend. I'll probably be consumed with schoolwork. But like around Monday, Tuesday, when I'm free from school, I'm just gonna do like a whole clean up yard, sweep, debris, mop, everything. I never see her with a mop or a fucking broom. It just boggles me. So the people probably looking at us like, well, I'm not saying that the place looks bad. It just looks bad in comparison to what's around us. You know how weeds grow and it grows outside your fence and it looks unkept, and then you see the person next to your house and theirs is all cut neatly, flowers is blooming out of theirs, and you come by yours and it looks like shrubbery. I don't like that. Now that I've been in the South and I've lived in Georgia for a while, and my ex, when we lived together, he was meticulous with his lawn. He would come out there as soon as he would know when there's a piece of weed growing that don't belong there. I'm like, how did you know that was? He'll know like the shape of the land structure. I'm not that serious with it because I'm not a country girl yet. But it was something that I admired. I admired that he would go out there and maintain his lawn. And then when people moved in next to his house, they were renting, and I seen how it bothered him that they wouldn't mow their lawn and stuff like that. So when their grass was close to his grass, it was looking like you could tell. It's a big difference when you're not maintaining your lawn. And I don't like if people own a home or they have the privilege of being in a home versus an apartment. Because an apartment, you ain't got to really worry about all that because everybody else in the building maintenance is going to come through and, you know, rectify that. But if you have the privilege of either owning a home or renting a home, you should take pride in that. People are watching your house, like take pride in how it looks. You know what I mean? So that was one thing that he had kind of brought to my attention, is like the difference between when people don't maintain their lawn, how it ends up looking. We don't have a lawn, but we have shrubbery and we have weeds, and they grow all through the ground around our property. It ain't my property because I don't own the house, but it starts to look bad when it grows out of control. So I recently had to do that 2 weeks ago. I had to buy me a weed whacker, and I got to whacking. But it grew literally like 4 days later. I was like, by the end of that week, the shit was like wildfire again. So I'm like, hold up, I'm not about to be doing this every 2 weeks. So that's when I thought about it. I was like, what can I do with these ridiculous weeds? And then I was like, oh, I could buy a weed killer. I'm not really familiar with if there's any, you know, cons to it, but I didn't see no cons yet because I was able to spray them, and now all I got to do over the weekend is just pull them out, you know, cut some of them, spray some more, and hopefully they don't grow back till next year. Because I'm not really a garden and type of girl. Now, if I had my own house in the South, yes, I'll be into my little gardening and stuff. But here in New York, the climate is not beneficial to having greenery like that. The bugs is out of control here. You got the spotted lanternflies, you got all kind of other bugs, you got tons of bees and bumblebees and what's that? Mosquitoes. I ain't finna be out here getting bit up and chew up by these nasty bugs. Now I know bees are beneficial, but I don't care. Y'all not finna sting me up. So I would just kill all the trees. No, I'm just saying. But I don't want to have to figure out and go study, well, which tree can I not cut and which, I don't have time for that, because with the small compact space in New York City, I just rather have, I don't think New York is built for like home life. It's built for apartment life. You know, a condominium, a nice little story, 4-story building. Like, that's what New York is built for, because there's no space to do anything. But back to what I was saying. So I'm gonna just see what's going on with my granddaughter by today when I go pick her up. Today is the day where I will discover what they finna do, what the school is about to do. Somebody had made in the comments, make sure she's going to be safe. Trust me, I don't play when it comes to my kids or anybody that I love. Yeah, my Scorpio venom, we finna go, y'all, that whole school gonna go down if something happened to my granddaughter, which I don't believe, because I pick her up. I pick her up, you know what I'm saying? So there's a security guard outside when they let the kids out. I mean, now if she was going home alone on the school bus or something, on the public bus, then yeah, it's a possibility something could happen. Maybe they could follow her, but that's not gonna happen right away, because I don't plan to go back to work for another month. So within that month, we're gonna be, oh, trust me, I'm gonna be on that shit. You're not finna mess with any part of my family. So y'all ain't got to worry about like, oh, you know, I don't know if I told y'all some of the stories as to why I had put my son in homeschool, but it was because of this particular reason. The bullying. New York City schools have a high bullying rate, and I thought charter schools would be a little better. It is. Some of the charter schools is better in New York, so I will give it that. And it also depends on what area you live. But predominantly, a lot of the 5 boroughs of New York City is rough. If you live in Brooklyn, majority of Brooklyn is rough. Unless you live in downtown, but downtown, those rents are just, it's ridiculous. You're looking at $4,000 and up if you're living in a nice, really upscale areas. If you're living in Upper Manhattan, it's rough. If you're living in the Bronx, it's rough. Manhattan is not really a place to live. It's more for businesses. So you're going to mostly see businesses. If there are apartments in Manhattan, they're usually condominiums where the celebrities might live, right? And then if the people live in Manhattan paying rent, it's usually the college students. They'll get like 3 roommates, and they might get a nice little apartment in Manhattan because it's right next to their school. Maybe they might be going to medical school or law, studying law. So you'll see that influx of college students in that area. So Manhattan is not really a place for like an average family to just move there. You got to have a reason to live in Manhattan. And then Staten Island is not even considered part of New York. I'm sorry, Staten Island people, but y'all know what it is. Y'all in a whole separate area. Y'all got to take a damn ferry over the water just to get to the regular part of New York. So most Staten Island people, if they live in Staten Island, they do majority of their stuff in Staten Island. My mom used to live in Staten Island, and when we would go out there, she had a car. You really got to have a car, or you can travel, but you got to get on that Staten Island ferry. Sometimes you got to take the bus to the ferry. The ferry is going to take you into the lower part of Manhattan by Battery. It's called Battery Park or something like that. That's where 9/11, you remember where the 9/11 situation happened? So that's where Staten Island people got to go to get to the city. So they got to take the ferry, which is about 40-minute drive, 40-minute boat ride. And it's very particular on schedule. If you miss that one schedule for that ferry, sometimes you got to wait a whole, I don't know, it might have changed since I've been over there, but I know you got to wait like 40 minutes for another ferry. And Staten Island people, a lot of times, they just work in Staten Island. Wu-Tang Clan is from Staten Island. That's like a whole nother life over there. It's like a whole nother city. But it is part of the 5 boroughs of New York City. If you drive from Staten Island into the city, you're crazy. Because you got to pay that $20, I think it's $18 toll. That's just one way. So if you're paying that toll, even if you got an Easy Pass, because I got an Easy Pass, but it don't really be no real major discount. You got to pay that back and forth just to get into the city. And then depending on what part of the city you work at, you paying for parking. If you pay for parking downtown Brooklyn, it's like $20 an hour. And there's really no side street parking in Manhattan or in Brooklyn. A lot of those parkings for Manhattan is for diplomats, people that's foreign, and they have like a special parking status, or they might have like a little meter for like 30 minutes. But if you work there, you need a place you can park your car for 8 hours. A lot of people do garage parking. And a garage parking, they might have discounts. The job might offer some discounts, but you paying a pretty penny. And if you do the train, you can get the Metro card. They have the unlimited monthly for like $140, I think. And then you have the weekly Metro card. I think that's like $40 a week. I can't remember because I haven't been on the train in a while. But I'm just saying, all that stuff, when you add it up, it's called a multi-fare zone. If you're living in a multi-fare zone, your ass, majority of your check is just to transport back and forth. So if you're smart, you will reduce your costs. So if you could find a job in Staten Island, that's even better. If you could like get around without a car in Staten Island, that's even better. So it's just really hard financially, I would say, to make it in New York, especially if you're on your own. How people make it in New York is a lot of them have multifamily. The multifamilies, or you're living together and everybody's paying a portion. So let's say your rent is $2,000. You're gonna have Becky Sue paying one thing, Bobby paying the other, and Brandon paying the other. You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna split it. One person might pay all the utilities, and the other two split the rent or some shit. So if it's like a husband and wife, it might be the husband and wife, and then the kids contribute to the bills. But really, ain't nobody really living here by themselves, just paying an ass of rent and an ass of bills and car note and utility bills and insurance, unless you really a medical doctor or you really doing some type of hustle. So long term, I don't see myself, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do right now. I just been playing it by ear, because once I start sending out my resume in a couple of weeks, I can see what's hitting. From that point, I'm going to either stay here or just get back on the truck, because my job is holding my job. They'll probably hold it till November. So that gives me time, wiggle room to figure shit out. Right now I just need to finish school, do one thing at a time. You know what I'm saying? My daughter's also going to be job hunting. She's looking for a job. Her starting salary might be like 45 to 50K too. So we'll see. You know what I'm saying? I'm not really stressed about it. I just wish God will reveal the answer to me sooner on what's the best option for me right now. Because I have two options that I would consider. I would consider going back on the truck, and then moving to the city I want to live in. Because, you know, trucking allows, I know trucking is doing bad right now, but one thing I will say that I like about trucking, that I've always admired about trucking, is you could pick up and go in any city you want to live in and have a job. It's kind of like being a nurse or a doctor, or because like my sister, she was a dental hygienist, and no matter what city she moved to, the phone was always ringing for a job. You know what I'm saying? So even if you may not, you know, you may have to take a pay cut, or some owner ops might have to go back into company driving, but you'll never be completely broke. I mean, y'all gonna have to just, you know, budget like everybody else, because, you know, some of us truck drivers, we get spoiled, right? We get spoiled. We're seeing $2,000 checks. Some guys are seeing $8,000. My ex was getting like $10,000 a week, and he owned the truck, so he ain't had no overhead. And I'm like, this dude always crying broke. But I understand, when you make more money, you start budgeting in a different kind of way. You start like putting aside for investments, like, you know what I mean? Huge investments. He actually starting a new trucking company, my ex. He's starting something in Charleston with the dump trucking business. So if people are interested in going into dump trucking, you might be able to look up into different contracts. I think they got something going on in Charleston right now with the dump trucks, with the asphalt. That's not really my thing. I don't want to sniff asphalt all day, but it's a lucrative thing. So I've always liked trucking because of the multi-layers that it offers. It offers multi-layers. You can go one way or the other. You could do reefer. You don't like reefer? All right, let me get out of reefer and I want to go into tanking. I want to do oil field. I want to do, you know what I'm saying? So if I wanted to really get out of New York, I feel like I haven't given New York a time yet. So by next month, after I've really acclimated myself, I can really get the feel of do I have the gumption to deal with the bullshit here. The people will put you on 10. I don't like my adrenaline pumping all the time. When I was younger, it was okay, but I don't want to just go out and have to worry about smacking a motherfucker. Because if you push me on the train or you rub your dingling on me, I'm about to punch you in your face. It's going to be no questions. And that's the thing. It's like my patience level for weirdos is at 0. So New York is going to force you to either put up or shut up. Somebody sent me a video. As a matter of fact, it was my older daughter. On one of the trains, the girl, she's sitting in front of a pervert, black dude. And I'm surprised because a lot of times when it comes to the flashers, they're usually either foreign, like maybe from one of those countries like Russia, or maybe Hispanic. They tend to be the ones. The Mexicans and the Spanish, some of the Spanish or whatever, Hispanic. They tend to be the ones that do the flashing. They'll have on the trench coat. And I'm not trying to be prejudiced, so y'all don't say that. This has been my experience. The guys that tend to rub their balls on you usually be mentally ill black guys that tend to do that, because that's more close contact. And sometimes I feel like they are not as afraid to actually touch the person, like to get into like an altercation, like I've had that happen. I'm not exaggerating. Any of y'all females that's from New York that know what I'm talking about, y'all could pipe in the comments like, yes, I understand. Back in the day when I was on the train, I used to be a heavy subway rider. It was usually the black weird guys. Sometimes they would have like, maybe they'll be in their mid-30s. Sometimes you get the older ones that's like, you could tell they cuckoo. But it was usually the guys that was in their mid-30s. They look a little off. Maybe they was in jail for a long time, so their brain is like institutionalized. And they usually had on a sweatsuit. So they usually was inconspicuous. Maybe they'll have on a hat like this, and they'll have on dark clothes, and they'll get on the train real quiet. They wait till the train gets real crowded, and they'll squeeze on there like real quiet. Sometimes they'll even have on sunglasses. And next thing you know, you're holding the pole, and then you feel somebody kind of creep. It's like a weird feeling you get before they even touch you. You'll just, like if you're one of those people like me, I'm a Scorpio. My Scorpio antennas go up when I feel weird shit about to pop off. So I usually feel it. Some females, they get on my nerves with that. They'll pretend they don't see the dude doing that. Like I used to watch sometimes the female going through that, and she'll pretend she don't feel somebody behind her literally molesting her. And then I'm like, girl, move. Like say something or move, right? I'm not saying I'm victim shaming, but sometimes like if you are raised in New York, you gotta be raised and bred a certain kind of way. Like you see how the first day my granddaughter get here and they already trying to break her in? This is what I'm talking about. And then people wonder why, depending on what city you come from, it inbreeds the culture in you on how you have to behave, the social structure of why you behave the way you behave, right? So I would literally have a dude behind me. It's happened several times where I'm feeling some rubbing. Either you're too close, maybe I could feel either your breath before I feel your balls, or the other way around. So I'm the type of person, I'm not gonna stand there and let you just keep molesting me. So I've had altercations where I punched a nigga and it was going down. A lot of times they'll run off the train because they don't want to go to jail. I've had times where I was coming home at night, and I remember one time I was with my sister and my little sister. She was little at the time. I think I was probably only 19. And this man, I mean, he was tall and beastly like, right? Like bigger than Debo from Friday. And he had on a trench coat, pitch dark skin. And he walking like this. And he seen 3 little girls. Me, because I was only 19, and my sister probably was like 16, and my little sister was probably like 10 or something. And he starts coming towards us, big ding-a-ling swinging. I mean, it was scary. He had the big trench coat, but it was open. So he walking, it's late at night. It was like 9 p.m. I don't even remember where we was going or coming, but I remember that mother effer. It was like a freaking demigod, like a deity, a demon. It was just, this thing was coming. So we start taking off. Like, we're in the train. This is what I don't like about the subway. You're in a tunnel and you have no way out. So a lot of weird shit goes down there. Weird stuff goes on down there. And now they're implementing cameras in the subway after all the assaults, robbery, stabbings. They had an A-train serial killer at one point. Not too long ago, 2 years ago. When COVID hit, that's when all the madness came out, because they released all the mentally ill patients out of the hospitals because they needed beds for the ventilator patients, for the COVID patients. So they had to get rid of all the mentally ill, put them in the street, give them a bottle of pills and told them to go help themselves. And that's when all the weird crimes increased in New York City. They're still running around here. When I drop my granddaughter off in the morning, I see a few of them weirdos around, just walking around aimlessly, right? So this is what I'm talking about. You live in New York, you get a heightened sense of awareness. People be like, oh, why are you so paranoid? It's not paranoia, sweetheart. It's survival. It's survival. So when I seen that video that my daughter sent me about this guy, it was a black guy. The reason why I said I was surprised it was a black guy doing that, because usually the ones that I see with the touching themselves, with the trying to hide their private parts, are usually either foreign men, or like, I don't know if you would consider Mexican foreign men, but it would be either like a Mexican or something. So I've had to curse out several Mexicans back in the day for flashing me. And yeah, I've literally cursed them out. Like, I'll make a whole scene. I'm just not a quiet person. I'll be like, you fucking pervert, you're nasty. And they'll just get to haul ass, right? So I just never allowed people to victimize me, because, you know, being raised by my father, who was crazy, and he tried to beat the crap out of me, it numbed me. So I'm not afraid. I'm not gonna let you just victimize me. I always tell my kids, if you're in a situation where the predator is trying to get you to follow instructions, always do the opposite of what they're trying to get you to do. So if they say be quiet, scream. If they say don't move, move. Because they're trying to put fear into you the moment they try to grab you. So if they're trying to grab you into a car, a lot of victims tend to listen and do what the predator tells them, because they're thinking there's some type of bargain going on where they're going to bargain for their life. It's like, no, fight for your life. You know, like Kendrick said, fight for your life, right? You got to get to that point where it's going to be me or you, and it ain't going to be me. So I've always had that survival instinct to not let nobody take advantage of me. So these situations, they're still prevalent today. The video I got of that man touching himself in front of the girl happened a couple of months ago. So the girl is filming him, and people in the comments is like, why didn't she get up and move? Some people saying she didn't know the guy was doing it until after, I guess, maybe she was looking down and maybe she looked up and finally he might have been finishing up. I don't know, but we don't know what goes through the victim's mind, right? But some people were saying she probably was afraid to get up and make a scene, and then he hurts her. But I don't know. Like, I can't speak for that person, but I just know if I'm sitting in front of a pervert and it's broad daylight on a train, I'm not gonna sit there and continue to let you do that. Like, I'm just not gonna do that. So I would either just get up and walk away, or knowing me, I'm gonna make a scene. I just can't. Like, nowadays people are crazy, so yes, there is the possibility of this person attacking you, yes, but I don't know, I always walk with some level of weapon. You can't have a gun in New York, but it doesn't mean you can't have something on you. You know what I mean? Like, make some homemade acid. If you feel that fearful, carry some acid in your little pocketbook, enough to scare a perpetrator off of you. Keep your mace, keep your little pocket knives. I don't know what happened to my little stun gun, but I had a knuckle stun gun. It had 18,000 watts on it, and you just put it on your knuckle, and the black part of the gun, you put it in your hand like this, and it just looks like a little ring. And a person come up to you, you know, you do what you got to do. So I don't know if I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for that kind of life again, but I just don't like it. My daughter is in love with New York because she hasn't experienced victimization on any levels yet. She said there's crazy people that will like say stuff to her on the train, but it's like stuff she can ignore. And I guess with you know, she met a guy, and you know how you like start to build a life, so you start to enjoy the place you're at. So she's enjoying being here for now, but she even told me, she said, "Mommy, I don't want to be here past 2 years. I just want to like get my foot in the door with my esthetician skills, save up a little money or whatever, and then maybe transfer my license." And then she was like, you know, if the guy and her are still together and they work out, she would hope that, you know, he wants to get out of New York too. So that's an option for her too, but I can't live my life for my daughter. She's about to be she's a grown woman technically. She's 19, but she's technically a grown woman, right? So eventually, if she wants to part ways and do her thing and live in another city other than where I want to live, I will be okay with that. So that was something we had to talk about. She was like, in a way, she doesn't care. My daughter is not like stuck on me like white on rice. You know what I mean? My kids are not stuck on me. They're very independent kids. They're a little clingy at times when it comes to like needing money, but once she gets her job and she doing her thing, she ain't gonna really need me for much. So I'm just still trying to figure out what's my next move right now. I mean, I'm just gonna enjoy my time off right now. My lips keep getting dry. Plus, I like this color. I'm trying out this little orange color. I got on orange pants. What they call coral orange. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I don't know if I feel like going back into that whole traveling on the subway every day to go to work, because I remember those days when I would travel on the subway from work, and it would be hot and sticky down in that subway, smelling like pure urine and booty hole, right? And you had to wait for these trains, and sometimes the train would come, and if you get out of work at 5, you're not finna get on that first train. It's gonna be already packed like sardines. So you have to wait for like 2 and 3 trains to go by before you could finally get on a train. And I remember those days I used to be like, Lord, please let me get a car and leave New York and get up out of here, right? And then slowly things started changing, and I had gotten a vehicle. But even when I had got the vehicle, I still couldn't, you know, drive it to New York, because like I said, you can't park here. You cannot park here. Everywhere you park, it's going to cost you. It's either going to cost you a ticket or cost you some coins. So you have to be very strategic when you leave with your car, right, to go somewhere. Like even when I drop my granddaughter off, I still have to look around where I could just pull over just for 2 seconds so she can jump out, because everybody is already the streets are full to capacity, and when the cars are parked, they're on top of each other, bumper to bumper. So you have to pray that somebody pulled out or somebody took their car today. So it just so happens sometimes I get lucky and I can park by somebody's driveway because it's just a couple of seconds, and my granddaughter usually gets out. So I'm not really too worried. Where that school is, it's a very small street. So I guess a lot of the cars are aware that it's a school. So they do allow people to stay and double park and hold up traffic for a few minutes. But that's about all you're going to get before people start laying on their horn and telling you to move out the way. So that's the average everyday life of living in New York City, is that you're going to be stressed out trying to find parking if you think you're going to have your car. Like right now, it's morning, and I would drive around here and everybody's car is still parked. So what does that tell me? They're not using it. So they're only using it probably on the weekends or when they get off of work to drive to go get something to eat. Child, this is dumb. The only reason I had the car was because I moved. I left New York. But if I lived here, especially now with all the cars, all the foreign people moved here and bought cars. All the Indian people, the Russian people, all the people that actually moved to New York, that influxed, went and bought cars. Why? I don't know. I've never seen it. It's the dumbest thing. New York is a pedestrian city. It's made for walking. It's made for that level. Like every block has a store. There's nothing that you would need that you need your car for to get to. Yeah, Uber is getting a little high. I won't even front. Like when I lived here and I had to go somewhere that was a little bit far, like maybe 5 or 6 miles, and I didn't want to take the bus, I called the taxi. But now we have Ubers. Uber has kind of put taxis a little bit out of business. Uber charges too much. Just to go around the corner or something, they're going to charge you like $10, $12. But if you took a taxi with that $12, you can get further. You could probably get like 8 miles versus 3 miles. The Uber going to charge you like $12 just to go like 2 miles. For my granddaughter to go to school, 2.5 miles is $15. $15 to go 2 miles. And the driver only probably gets about $8 of that. Uber gets the rest. It's crazy. It's a highly capitalistic state. America, period. Highly capitalistic. And it's all on the backs of the taxpayers. So what you gonna do? The best thing to do is find a city that is low key. Back in the day, I ain't gonna front. New York City was popping. It was the best city for a long time. That was in my time, like in the 90s and the early 2000s. New York City was the place to be. You wanted to be a model? Come to New York City. And LA too, but I don't know, I'm not familiar with LA. All I know is New York City was on the map if you was a brokey, but you had a dream. They're going to discover you. Just walking down the street, you will be discovered for some type of talent. And you will always have a job here. But now nothing matches. The cost of living don't match. There's no more scouting agents here, so the models can just forget about that. People with talent, just forget about that. They all left. I don't know where they went. They probably went down to Atlanta. But most of the scam artists is in Atlanta. It's just crazy. There's really nothing left here other than high stress and inflation. The remnants of whatever's here is basically what was here already pre-COVID. So if somebody already was living here with maybe owning a house that was pre-COVID, they decided to just push through it. But a lot of these people that you see now here in New York, they're not native New Yorkers. A lot of the native New Yorkers moved. They went down south or Midwest. I'm literally even considering Midwest at this point. But when I start looking at Indianapolis, their prices are crazy. So I'm like, dang, I gotta go there on freaking Colorado. You know what I mean? I don't know nothing about Colorado. But at this point, I'm like, I need to go somewhere that I can see the benefit of what I make, the money that I make. And I'm not saying I won't be able to sacrifice for a little bit just to get from one point to another, but I'm just saying my overall long-term outlook is I need to be somewhere where I can feel, okay, I'm not being pimped out for my salary. And that's what you get here in New York. In these big cities, you get pimped out for your salary. And you say, well, if you go to a small city, you're not gonna find a job. Exactly. That was the whole like trickery about the way they set this whole situation up. It's all a setup. So that's why I said, now I'm trying to like scope out, cities that they do still have some level of jobs. it's not like in the, you know, in the cut where nobody knows about it or whatever. But at the same token, it's not like a high stress city, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to go nowhere where the people are not somewhat, you don't got to be super friendly, but you can't be to the point where the energy is bad, like that low vibration energy. Like you so in your prejudice that you can't even allow a city person to just feel somewhat welcome in your town. It's like, no, we don't invite your kind. We don't want you here. Like, I don't want that type of city either. So I have to really do my research. The cities that I've seen so far that I kind of like, it's a little expensive, but it's still decent, was North Carolina. South Carolina will be my last resort because I lived in Columbia before and it didn't have much to offer. You know what I'm saying? So one of my aunts live in Greensboro. So that's why I was like, I like the how trucking allows you to travel. So if I told my company like, hey, I want to spend my home time in Greensboro, they'll just route me to Greensboro, park the truck up, you know, drive around with the truck, bobtail if I have to, because, you know, at some point if I'm going to different cities I won't be able to have my car, but you know, I still want to be able to see what the city has to offer, because you could get a good feel if you go to a city like maybe like 3 or 4 times, and then you go to different restaurants, you know, you get a hotel and you go stay at different places, you get the feel of the city. And I remember when I first went to Atlanta, oh my gosh, like the first weekend I was spent there, I was like, no, this is not my cup of tea. And I don't want people to think I'm saying Atlanta's a bad city. Atlanta offers a lot of great things. I will say that. You can get your business started and stuff like that. But it was the energy. The energy for me. I'm an energy person. If I don't feel the energy, I'm not going to do it. I ended up being there by default. But the energy of the people is bad for me. Low vibrational. Very low vibrational. I don't want to get into the deepness of why it's low vibrational, but it's so many different reasons. You know what I mean? From the traffic to how the people are. It's just, no. When I was there and I started going there a couple of times and my mom was kind of convinced me to move there, I was like, this place, no. This place, the energy is bad for me. I don't like it. Very high homeless rate. It was too much. It was too much. So yeah, North Carolina is really the only city I've seen that's halfway decent. And when I started looking at cities up north, I will say I thought Maryland was a cute city, some parts of Virginia, but like I said, the energy. I haven't been to Richmond, but I've been on like West Virginia side, and it's cold. The people are cold. It's like a I felt like I was in that movie Get Out when I went to West Virginia. And I went there several times. I went there to stay with my kids. We got a hotel and we stayed for like a week because I was trying to see where I wanted to live. This was a couple years back. And I remember we went to the mall. We seen different races, but the overall energy was a Get Out feel. It feels so brainwashed. And I was like, I cannot. I do not want a city where everybody has the same personality. You guys to be different. Like how y'all all talking the same, how y'all all have the same level of energy. I cannot do that. I need a city where everybody can just flow and be themselves and it's not a problem. And you're probably like, well, that's going to be very few cities. That's what I'm saying. That's the whole point about it, is like, you got to do your research. So I thought Atlanta was going to be very diverse. I don't find that Atlanta is diverse. Not to me. It's more segregated, and not in a good way. So I didn't really like it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I actually liked the Columbia. I liked the feel of Columbia. I just felt like Columbia didn't offer enough resources. It's just a very small, low-key city. But I did like the feeling of Columbia. I will say that. I spent several years in Columbia, and then when I first was stationed in Columbia, I was when I did my military time, as it was in Columbia. But that was years ago when I was fresh out of high school. Well, I see a B. So I moved back there again early 2000s, and I stayed there for about, I think, 4 years. And then it was just too hard for me because my kids were very small at the time. My first daughter, she was a teenager, but she started acting up. And I was just like, this is gonna be a hard life, right? Because I had just recently had gotten divorced from my last two kids' father. I had got divorced, and I moved to Columbia. And the reason why I had moved to Columbia was because my sister was stationed in not Macon, but the other city, Sumter. She was Air Force, and she was like, come on down here and stay with me. And I did. And when I went down there, that was my first time really being back in a country setting, and I had loved it. I had got my first 3-bedroom house. I was a happy camper. But then the struggles came. I ain't had nobody watch the kids. I had to work at night. I was doing waitressing and bartending and going to school during the day for medical assistant. And then I just crashed out and burnt. Couldn't do it no more. And then I ended up coming back to New York, stayed with some family members for a little while. Then that didn't work out. I stayed with my best friend, my high school friend. I stayed with her for like a year, and then I saved up, got me a place. And then I just was like, okay, I'm a city girl again. Went back to college, and that's what happened. And then I ended up working here for a while, and then decided to go into trucking. So New York is really all I know. If you really want to like really, I know I said I wasn't going to stay that long. And look at it, I'm over an hour. I always do this. I start to talking and I can't shut up. But yeah, New York has always been my home. You know, like that. You just come home and you're like, this is my home city. It's always made me feel like, come back whenever you want. You're always welcome, you know. But now, I would say in the last 6 years, ever since COVID, I have never felt the love like I used to for New York. I always didn't like the stuff that happened in New York, but I always knew New York was my home. But then once COVID hit, the energy of New York changed. It feels, the way it feels now, it feels like kind of like a third world country where no one's trying to achieve anything. It's just NPCs going home, going to work, listening to loud music. But back in my time, New York had substance and a core, a spirit of love and life. Even though there was a lot of crime, it was a lot of goal-oriented situations. You would see even the scout agents when you would go through Manhattan, and they're like all around just looking. Now a lot of times some of them were like into like the trafficking, right? So I'm not trying to praise those type of situations where they would see pretty girls and they'd be like, hey, we got a modeling agency, we want to sign you up, come on with, you know, and next thing you know, you never see the young girl again. But there was real organic situations where they can get you into, like, that's how rappers got discovered, Jay-Z and them. All these situations happen by being discovered, being in New York City. People were open to the hustle, to helping other people. So it was like more of a camaraderie going on. You would go on the train and the guys will be playing music and people be singing, and they'll be like, it's like people be talking, you'll be sitting with people and they're talking, y'all talking about the music. It was different. And now I just feel like I'm in a third world country, but it's like there's no country. It's just a bunch of little cities with a whole bunch of different races and diverse people, but nobody's talking to one another. The old New York, I'll be friends with like, my best friend was a Korean girl, and I would go to her mom's house, her parents' house, and I would learn about their foods. They would take me to their restaurant. You don't really see that here. You don't see like a black kid walking down the street with the Indian family and the Indian family introducing them to the food choices. You don't see that. They be in their own world, minding their own business. Then you have the Spanish people minding their own business. You got the whites minding their own. Now New York is super segregated, but then it has a third world country feel to it. It's like, what is happening here? It's like a damn zoo. That's what it feels like. A freaking zoo. I don't know. I don't like it anymore. Like I said, I'm not complaining. I'm just giving y'all the real tea of what it feels like to live in New York City, and why I'm just to the point where I'm like, I don't know if I can do this again. The noise pollution is disgusting. The attitudes, is the impatientness of the people. It's just like, they are so impatient here. I'm starting to feel like a Southerner. Like, I'm moving too slow for these people. I was with my daughter. I'm like, girl, you walk like super fast. She's like, pew, pew. Like, we walked to the store. She all the way up the block. And I'm like, and I know I'm not slow. I'm not saying that because it's me, but me in comparison to when I go down south, people tell me, slow down. I go into the Walmart. I'm like, do, you know, talking fast. The people at the register is like, what'd you say? You slow down. What'd you say, ma'am? So I know the level here is just pew, pew, pew. These foreigners, they come here, they on a mission, but they're not on a mission to promote New York City. They on a mission to get what they can from New York City and go back where they come from. So it's kind of like they're cheating. This is not their home. They don't have no love for the city. They're not invested into the city. They're just like, hey, we're gonna make it work here and we out. They're not trying to be your friend. They're gonna be, it's just like, it's a done deal. It's a done deal. But anyways, I'm gonna get back upstairs and make me something to eat. I don't know if I'm gonna take a nap, but I'm really glad it's Friday because I don't gotta get up early to take my granddaughter to her school, and I can sleep in late and do my homework all day tomorrow too. But somebody asked me if she's my daughter. I probably made a mistake in some of my videos and said my daughter. She is my granddaughter. That's my oldest daughter's daughter. My oldest daughter, I think she's 32, 1992. What year is that? Whatever. Y'all do the math. She's 32. After a while, you forget. But she's her mama. I ain't got no small kids, okay? And I don't plan to have any small kids. I'm about to be 50 this year. This womb is done. So whoever I meet, he better be having his own kids and be happy, because we're not doing no adoption. We're not doing no planting no eggs in no lab. This child raising years is, I did my time. It's time for me to do me. I want to go travel the world. I want to be sipping pina coladas on the beach. I want my body to be snatched back the way it used to be pre-baby. So I need to focus on me now. I thought I was going to have that little month of time off to focus on me, but no. My daughter dropped her daughter in my lap. So we gotta, you know, now I got to, like I said, I want to get to the point where it's all about me. I've been focused on helping others for so long, but now I want to do me. I wish people would let me just do me in peace. But like I said, that's what happens. I have a lot of dependent relationships. I need to start forming interdependent relationships where there's like a team building situation where I'm benefiting from the person just as much as they're benefiting from me. I just feel like I'm in just too many relationships where people are either sucking on my energy dry or trying to suck all my resources. And these are people that I love. So it's not too easy to be like, oh, just get rid of them. It's like, my nephew is in prison. He needs help. So what am I supposed to do? Turn my back on him? It's just like, this is unfortunate with these type of situations when you have family members that are struggling or doing bad or down bad, as however they say it. And they look at you as somewhat of like their strength. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, y'all, it was nice talking to y'all. I got a content I want to do on Monday probably. I don't like to really tell y'all what I pre-planned, but I want to talk about how these podcasters, their communication. So I was reading something and it talks about how effective listening is a strategy. People always say, oh, a good listener is somebody that doesn't like talk back. No, it's so much deeper than that. So I'm going to bring some real good tea that y'all could take in y'all regular relationships, like your loving relationships, and you can also take in general dealing with people in conversations. So I took some tests over the last weekend, and it asks you specific questions on how do you look at life. It brings out a lot of bias in you that you didn't know you have. Prejudice, like a bias. So one of the questions it asked me was, what do you think people see first when they see you? And it gives you a list, and it says your gender, your race, your orientation, your religion, your social status, all these questions. And I picked my gender. I said, I think people see my gender first, then they see my race, then they see my social class. So I was like, what makes me pick that? So they said, when you answer these type of questions, it allows you to see how you have a preconceived notion about what people think about you. Because I could have put my color. So people that are hypersensitive about being black in America, they might think people see their color before they see them, right? So this is a social building experiment that people can play with each other. You could tell, like I asked my daughter, I said, what do you think people see in me? This is first impression now. You're walking down the street, you're dealing with a person. What are they seeing when they see you first? Are they seeing your gender first? Are they seeing your character first? Which they probably can't, because you didn't really show them anything, right? But they can also have what's called confirmation bias by what you are wearing. And they could say, oh, that person is a whore. Oh, that person is a thug. Oh, that person is a business person. Oh, that person is classy, right? So now we go into social status. What do people see when they see you? So these are questions that we can ask one another. Like, what do you think people see when they see me? So that's one exercise that we were doing. Another exercise we were doing it's called the lunar method. I have to go back and look. It's a way that you listen to give feedback without being negative. So we get triggered when we're talking to people we don't know. So a lot of times we will get their information while they're talking to us, and we take it the wrong way. Or let's say you're talking to a bigot. If you have to have a conversation with a bigot, guess what that's going to look like? It's going to look like an argument. I'm going to teach y'all ways on how to avoid arguments with people that you have to deal with. This is things that we don't be really taught. It's like you just shut down because the person said something you didn't like, because they might have some biased belief systems, right? And then you're like, oh, I don't want to talk to them no more. So the reason why I thought that was important was because I be watching these podcasts. I'll view these podcasts, and it's just chaotic. I get off there, I'm emotionally drained because the message, it gets lost in translation because of people's feelings. People's feelings are not being acknowledged. They're not being validated. So we're going to talk about how to validate people's feelings that you don't like. Because if you don't like them and they're saying things that is like triggering or offensive. Now, I'm not saying if they're being straight out disrespectful. That's different. I'm talking about They're just trying to get their point across, and their point across is triggering, is annoying you, it's making you upset, it's bringing out feelings in you that you're not comfortable expressing to the public. But you know you have to continue this conversation because you could be on a podcast, or you may be communicating at work with this person. There are effective ways that you can reduce that level of tension without ending the conversation. So we're going to talk about that on Monday or Tuesday. But I love you guys. I might hit y'all over the weekend if I have time, but I want to try to be a little bit more consistent. So work with me, y'all. Love y'all much. Bye.